Have just pressed play.
Okay, and welcome, listeners, to the Magic Morning Wood.
You're doing your silly voice, you.
Hello. My name is Ron, and this is...
You should have heard the voice he made at the end of the last podcast.
Yeah, that was weeks ago, though. So
That's right.
I don't know about that.
Not earlier today.
Yeah, so my name is Ron.
And I'm Clive, the one with a normal voice.
Right. Well,
but slightly strange accent.
Strange accent, yeah. And welcome back to the Magic Morning Wood, where we talk about movies you probably have never seen. Okay.
Or would want to.
Or would never want to, too. So, anyway, welcome back. So this week...
Cup of tea, coffee, biscuits, then we'll begin.
We'll wait. You go.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.
Oh, you want some biscuits?
No, we'll wait while...
All right, okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. We'll give you a few seconds.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to keep going. If you're not back yet, too bad.
Yes.
Okay, so today we are talking about the 1974 cult classic, Zardoz, starring Sean Connery and Charlotte Rampling.
Irish-US co-production.
Right.
Shot in 73, I believe.
73, but...
In the Wicklow Mountains of Ireland.
Yes, but released in 74.
Yes.
It was...
yeah, I know. There's no need to berate me, Ron. I know what to say.
Damn it! Don't undercut me. So, apparently it was possibly the first movie that Sean Connery did after being James Bond. That apparently he, after Diamonds Are Forever, he could not find a job, and no one would hire him. So this was one of the...
Yeah,
I'm
suspicious of this story. I also read this trivia.
But apparently he was hired for only $200,000.
Right. But I don't understand. I don't get this. Why would Sean Connery be unhireable after Diamonds Are Forever? This makes no sense to me.
It could be like that. Maybe he, got typecast and could only be seen as James Bond. Sometimes when people have really big parts like that, then they can't find work after that.
Yeah, but he was doing other things in between Bond movies.
Right.
He wasn't exclusively Bond. So I call bullshit on this. Unless someone has evidence, I'm not buying this tale.
Okay. Actually, just before we start into Zardoz, I would like to...
this is your choice, by the way, isn't it, Ron?
My choice.
Yeah.
I would like to just tell a quick Sean Connery story.
Oh, okay.
Right. You may have heard this, but
are you going to do the accent?
No, but I won't do the accent. Or I may do it for the one line. But I heard this on another podcast that I listened to a few weeks ago.
All right.
And it was just a funny story about Sean Connery that I'd like to just say here. That just reminded me of this.
Okay.
It was not relevant, but...
is that because this other podcast is one of those pathetic ones that no one listens to? But here, the story will have a much bigger listenership.
You got it.
Right.
So anyway, the story goes that there was a person interviewing Sean Connery. I don't know, maybe you've heard the story, but someone was interviewing.
I'll try not to.
They're interviewing Sean Connery, and I guess afterwards they got up for some beers or something. They were relaxing or something like that. And of course, Sean Connery is famous womanizer, famous ladies man, right? Famous for being
allegedly,
a ladies man.
Yeah,
and so. This interviewer person went up to Sean Connery and was like, come on, so tell us, who in Hollywood have you fucked? Who are the famous actresses that you fucked? And Sean Connery got up and left the table. And his handler or his agent or whoever was with him turned to the guy and was like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? That's fucking Sir Sean Connery. You don't fucking ask Sir Sean Connery about women he's asked. This is he's a British royalty. He's a Hollywood royalty. You don't ask and Sean Connery came back. He had just gotten a beer and he goes, Ursula Andrews in the ass.
Ah, there we go. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is he a Sir?
Ursula Andrews in the ass. Right.
Is he a Sir?
Yes, he is.
He is. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell my.
So I thought that was.
You just reminded me, and this
you
is.
didn't laugh though.
And this is literally Apropos, you've just reminded me of my other favourite kind of embarrassing interview story was when someone was sent to interview Stevie Wonder, and Stevie Wonder was staying at some hotel somewhere, I can't remember, and the interviewer was just really, really, really nervous and wanting to break the ice, and he looked out the window of the penthouse suite and said, "It's a great view, isn't it, Steve?"
Oh, because Stevie Wonder's blind.
There we go. You got there in the end. Yes, I did. I was wondering for a moment whether I accidentally said Steven Seagal or something.
No,
and then, because if it was Steven Seagal, and then
that punchline was telegraphed from the beginning. So,
right.
Yeah, so
well, you know,
I just thought that maybe you're actually going to have some more of it.
No.
I was waiting to see if there's more to it. But
better than your answer.
By the way, Ursula.
Anyway,
in the ash.
Right.
So,
off to a classy start, as always.
Right.
So, why, for the love of Christ, did you choose Zardoz, Ron? Was it just so you could tell an anecdote, or is there something more?
No, actually, I heard that anecdote after I chose this movie.
Okay.
So it was just timely, so I just thought...
Okay, right. It would be a shame to not include it.
So, this movie I had not even heard of until about
really?
3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's just totally never even... It's 3 years older than me, so it was just never on my radar. Never even... I don't know how it escaped my notice, but it's never really heard of it. Never heard anything about it. And then a few months ago, a friend of mine was writing somewhere about movies that changed him or defined him. It was same list, a different friend, but the same type of list that I chose the Jodorowsky.
All right, Santa Sangre.
Santa Sangre.
Yeah.
And so that was another friend. He chose
C-ish Ed.
Huh?
That's what they do in comics, right? When someone refers to something, you get in brackets C-ish, as in issue number 74.
Oh, I thought you meant like
and then
comics. Okay.
Ed.
Right, editor.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Anyway, so my friend
Ursula.
So it was the same type of list that my friend chose Santa Sangre. Another friend chose Zardoz, and I was like, "What the fuck is Zardoz?" I've never heard of it. And I looked it up. I was like, "Holy crap!" It's got Sean Connery and Charlotte Rampling. And I've just seen Charlotte Rampling in another movie recently, which I thought she was quite good in. And
what movie?
I was hoping you were going to ask me.
Ron's going to look something up.
Look it up, but I totally forgot what.
I'll fill.
You can fill the time.
I'll tell a Stevie Wonder anecdote. Stevie Wonder one time ordered orange juice, but someone gave him pineapple juice.
Oh, that's what it was. I saw her
instead, and he didn't notice.
Yes, right. I saw her in Broadchurch, actually, second season of Broadchurch.
Ah, okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's what I seen. So,
I see.
Anyway,
she's interesting. She's an interesting actress. Is Charlotte Rampling? I quite like Charlotte Rampling. She seems to have always. Well, I mean, she's obviously in all sorts of things, but she doesn't shy away from controversial subject matter. I mean, the same year this came out, she was in The Night Porter. Right? I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a film where she's a Holocaust survivor who, after the war, accidentally bumps into the man who used to be a guard at the camp she was in, and they continue a sadomasochistic love affair.
Oh, wow.
So, obviously pushing a lot of buttons there. Right? Film I haven't seen in a long time, but I remember it being a kind of more interesting than maybe the kind of outrage that people had towards it. It was slightly more interesting than that, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and a fascinating. I don't know. She's got one of those faces. Right? She's just got a amazing face.
Yeah. It really is like
a sculpture or something.
Yeah, I kind of came into Charlotte Rampling.
Really?
Not literally.
Wow, that's better than the Ursula Andress.
The Charlotte Rampling world. Sorry, I misspoke there. I was introduced. How about that one too? Charlotte Rampling.
Right.
A lot later in her
Following
life.
in Sean's footsteps,
Yes,
cock steps.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't know any of her earlier work. So, but she has a very distinctive face.
Oh yeah. There's no mistaking her for anyone else.
So that's why when I started to watch Zardoz, I expected her to be in it, and I couldn't see anyone that looked like her. And I was like, oh, maybe she looks very different or something. But then finally she came on screen a little bit later, and I was like, oh, okay, there's her.
That's funny. That's exactly what Stevie Wonder said when I watched the film with him. He said I couldn't see anyone.
Right, you and Stevie are good pals.
I've got a whole shitload of Stevie Wonder anecdotes.
Great.
They're all a bit similar, to be honest. They're all kind of based on him not seeing very well. But,
Charlotte Rampling and Yash. Right.
There we go.
So, anyway, so this is...
Me too, Ron. Time's up.
Anyway, back to the movie.
Yeah, sorry, right. Ron Weinstein. Let's...
Again, my friend put this on his list, which was like the 10 most sort of formative movies for himself.
Right, and then you quickly unfriended him.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, maybe this is a movie I should see. So I mentioned it to you as a possible movie to hear. You said you seemed okay with it at that point, not now, but I see.
Oh no! I mean, no. My relationship with Zardoz is, I can't remember when I again probably late night television when I was a kid, I think. And then I think once after that for the book, and then, but it's one of those films that I have a very strong memory of how much of a mess it is in a way, but no actual strong memory of what really happened in it, other than certain key images.
Right.
So it was one of those ones when you mentioned it, I thought, okay, even though it's not like, it's always my favorite, it was, I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about there, and indeed there is, and it wasn't too much of a, I mean, I don't know if I'll be watching it again anytime soon, but anyway, we'll get into that, I guess.
And I said before we started recording today that I may need your help with this one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you meant by that.
Because I'm not really sure I got it.
Okay.
Because you have probably a few more viewings than I did. And I was looking like a lot of stuff online, like different like quotes about it, a lot of like trivia, a lot of reviews and stuff like that. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's brilliant, and it's about this, and it's very deep, and it's about this and that. And I didn't get any of these things, or very few of those things anyway. And I'm just wondering if maybe a lot of it may have just gone over my head. So I might need your help to get a sense of this kind of mess, right? So
right.
Anyway, so in a nutshell,
can you resist?
I'm not going to do this.
Oh,
all right.
He will. Just wait.
There we go. So Zardoz is a science fiction movie, I guess.
Right.
It has the...
Or a fantasy, I suppose. And utopian, dystopian, take your pick, fantasy.
It was early 70s, so it still has kind of the aesthetic of like the original Star Trek series, kind of with like, beautiful women sitting around with kind of like the costumes and the set dressing kind of reminded me of like 60s science fiction, kind of the original Star Trek and stuff like that.
The overall vibe of it is certainly post kind of hippie early 70s. The whole time I was watching it, I thought this seemed like a film like they would have made on like Led Zeppelin's estate between like tours or something. It seemed like something like that, right? With a bunch of people like sitting around smoking and like going, oh man, that's like really deep. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, but I think you hit on the head that it really is just a mess. And there's a lot of stuff that they try to do there, but it never really makes sense or goes anywhere or finds anything. But it's they try a lot of different stuff. And
that's why it's kind of I'll give it that. It's certainly different, and I admire director, writer, producer John Bowman for who has a very peculiar filmography. I mean, all over the place.
Deliverance,
right? And then a few years before he'd made Point Blank as well, right? And then he delivers this, and then his next film's Exorcist 2.
Yeah.
So you're like,
he's all
yeah.
He knows where the paycheck is, I guess. So.
I would say not that.
But I've heard that this movie was his sort of his passion project.
Director, writer, producer, right?
So for him, it was a passion project. So
and shot quite near his estate in Ireland, apparently.
In Ireland. Anyway, basically.
Good luck with this one, Ron.
Yeah, I don't know how to sum this up. So there's basically it's in the future. It's about 200 years in the future.
It's
or 100 years in the future.
It's 2293. Yes.
2293.
Yes.
And to be precise, and there's.
I'm all about the precision.
Yeah. And the humanity has overcome mortality. Humans are now immortal, and there's no more death. So these people are called the Eternals.
Yes, this is a certain branch of humanity, right? It's not in all of humanity.
But
right.
it's like humanity has done this. Right?
Yes,
So
let's
it
put
has
that.
happened.
Yeah,
so humanity has discovered how to become immortal and how to live forever. And so these people are made this kind of bourgeois, kind of like upper class gated community, where they called the vortex or the vortices, where there are several of them.
But we should say as well, again, as always, we should go on. We're getting into spoilers here. Plus, as well, we're telling this the way we're telling it, so it makes sense. We're talking ass backwards.
Right,
this isn't how we introduced the film. No. But we'll get to that.
It sort of makes more sense if you tell it this way.
Yes.
And so, because there's a lot of things that are kind of revealed, I guess, right? Which is just easier just to
yes. Basically, what Ron is starting off with isn't immediately evident until a while into the film.
So. But basically, but of course the problem is that these Eternals, these people who have lived forever, are bored to shit. They have nothing to do. They lay around. They have, they all kind of like think of themselves as much higher class than the rest of humanity, which are still mortal, and but they're very kind of excluded or like gated off, and they're bored with their life and they have nothing to do, nothing to say.
Well, they don't procreate anymore.
And they don't procreate because because they are eternal, they don't need to have sex anymore. So they don't need to have.
Well, they don't give birth, right? That's
exactly.
It's not. I don't know if it's so much they're eternal, but they don't give birth, and they don't die. And there's something.
Well, they don't age either unless they specifically want to, right?
Well, there's a thing. What was it called? There was a word for it. I've got quite a lot of notes here, so it might take me a while to find this. There's what was it called? The thing that controls their world.
Yes.
Or the Eternal Tabernacle.
The Tabernacle, yes.
Yeah, so there's the Eternal Tabernacle, and so basically if someone does kind of die, for instance, if they try to kill themselves or something, they're just basically reborn.
Yes.
Into these plastic bags. They have this.
Yes.
You see a plastic, because some character dies, and he's immediately a fetus starts to form in there's a lot of plastic bags in this film.
A lot of plastic bags.
It's what the future looked like in 1973. Everything's in plastic bags. So basically this balance is maintained, right? So there's no one new coming in, no one old. So it's stagnant. It's a stagnant pool.
But at the same time, they also have these people called the renegades.
The renegades,
who are people who go against the mores of society or the values of society, or go against the rules of society, and they age them, and that's their punishment. Is when you get a punishment when you do so. There's many rules, lots of like class, like polite society etiquette and all these rules and stuff. And if you go against it, then there's a democratic vote.
Yes, a psychic vote. The psychic as well. Let's not forget.
Exactly.
So they have a psychic vote, and we see one of these, right?
And then the punishment is that you get aged.
Yeah, like 5 years or 10 years or something. Yeah.
And there's a group of people called the renegades, which are all basically old people who have been aged so much that they're all old.
And now crazy. They spend their time ballroom dancing, basically.
And going, I'm old.
Immediately put me. Again, it's one of these things. I don't think it's it's just in the air of this kind of science fiction of the time. It immediately put me in mind of Logan's Run, which the movie hadn't come out yet, but the books had. I think the books are from precede this movie, so I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but I think it was just stuff that was in the air, right?
So a lot of these Eternals, some of them actually have kind of a death wish. They're so bored with their life that they actually wish to die, but they can't, because even if they kill themselves, then they just come back immediately again.
Right.
So at the same time, there's these Eternals. There's also, outside of this kind of like utopian society, there's the Outlands, which is kind of like the wilds of the rest of Earth.
And this is where we begin the film.
We
see like these like marauding horsemen wearing these quite cool like double-faced mask things, and you think, oh, is this like medieval, or is it the Stone Age or something?
Exactly, so you're not sure the timings of that. And there's this giant floating head that comes down,
which to be fair is fucking cool. that is the one thing I always remembered from this film, is this giant kind of a stone floating head, and it's got like an open gaping mouth with teeth, and it looks like it's got a mane of fur around it as well, but it looks super cool.
It looks good. And so it's like, but we don't know this yet, but so it comes down, and then it's sort of like it's their god, right?
Yes.
And so they all worship this floating head.
When you say they, you mean the exterminators.
Well,
these are the guys.
Is all of the people the exterminators are only the ones that kill the other people.
Yes, and Sean Connery is one of these. He's called
like,
Zed.
He's like kind of like they thin the herd kind of idea.
So you kill the brutals.
These are so
they worship.
They're all brutal. Brutals are the people who live in the Outlands, and the exterminators
hunt them down,
hunt the other brutals, right?
or force them to farm wheat as well,
exactly. which then is taken to go to make bread, green bread apparently for some reason.
Sean Connery as well does spend the entire film in like red pants and a red jockstrap and
red
matching gun belt
kind of idea, right?
It's very chic.
Yeah, it looks very hilarious, quite hilarious actually. So this head, and the head is named Zardoz, and it says stuff like, worship the weapon, the gun.
Well, the gun is good.
The gun
penis
is
good. The
penis is bad. That's what it is. Yeah, sorry.
Which I've always said.
Yeah, the gun is good. The penis is bad, and then it vomits out this
guns and ammunition
for the exterminators to basically kill the rest of it. And so after the credits, this is the opening.
I hope you're following this.
So this is the pre-credit scene, and then after the credits, we find that Sean Connery, who's one of these exterminators, has somehow sneaked into the head, and is in the head now. And we find out that it's actually the very first thing we see is the guy who claims to be Zardoz, Arthur Frayne, who is just his floating head, kind of like this kind of like weird thing. And he gives this whole speech about I am Zardoz.
Yes, I am the puppet master.
Puppet master, right?
And he says, "Is God in show business too?" Which is one of those things. Apparently, John Bowman was actually forced to add this bit to the beginning of the film to make sense of it. That didn't work. So I'm wondering
that helped a lot,
because because the rest of the film is kind of poor-faced to a certain extent. I don't know. It kind of has a sense of its own irrationality and silliness, but it's quite serious, I think. But this bit just seems really silly.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if John Bowman was like his God, was he just taking the piss at this point? It really doesn't add anything.
It doesn't. And it turns out, of course, that Zardoz is actually Arthur Frayne is just one of the Eternals who has volunteered to be the person to take care of the Outlands,
he's
responsible for.
Yes, he's overseeing.
That's his job. And so he's done this thing where he's created this big giant head and he pretends to be their god, and they worship him. And so then through that he gets them to basically commit genocide for each other, right? For him, and to thin the herd.
Right, and he starts them to get farming as well.
And farming, and then so he thins the herd and gets them to grow food, which he takes back to the Eternals.
Right. There'll be a quiz at the end, so I hope you're following this.
So it's very very complicated. So basically, so Sean Connery, one of the exterminators, somehow gets into the head and then ends up killing Arthur Frayne, shooting him, falls at the thing, and then he ends up taking the head back to the vortice, or the vortex where the rest of the Eternals are, and he discovers this world.
Right. Which is basically a farmhouse.
Yeah, at first, Where he discovers the vortex, which is basically...
And they have plants in more plastic bags. They have plants in plastic bags. So it's like a weird kind of it's basically a hippie commune, a psychic
yeah,
hippie
it really
commune.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It is. So they find him, and of course he's never seen a lot of these things. He's kind of like this kind of caveman in modern society, kind of looking at strange things.
To be honest, Sean Connery is actually quite good casting at this. He kind of looks the part, right? Kind of looking confused.
He's got really hairy with the big sideburns and the big and stuff.
He was he's just done Bond, right? So he's in pretty fucking good condition.
He looks really
right?
good. Yeah. So the idea is he's supposed to be this real handsome, but kind of brutal kind of guy, right?
It's kind of, I quite like the fact that there's when he's not necessarily because when he turns up, they go through. There's a bit of a to do about Charlotte Rampling. Charlotte Rampling's character Consuela just wants to kill him and get him out of the way because he will pollute society. And then there's this other woman who's like, no, we need to study him. And while they're debating this, and then they put it to the test, some of the women just pawing Sean Connery, right? I quite like this here because he does look like just what they've been waiting for.
So that's it. So and so he kind of upsets their society because he's this kind of outsider who's come in. He doesn't know what's going on. So they psychically control him and kind of beat him down and make him into a slave.
Right. So they can study him as well. Right.
So, but Charlotte Rampling is one of these Eternals who wants to kill him, as you said.
Right.
So she doesn't like his existence and wants to kill him. But the rest of them all vote, and then they decide they can keep him as a slave. So
and they also
for a certain amount of 3 weeks or something.
Yes. They also probe his mind, and I'm not quite sure how it's never really explained. But basically, in this future world as well, there's a video archive of fucking everything. Right. There's a video of everything, and they probe his mind and they find out more about what he actually did as an exterminator. And there's footage of everything. I don't know where these cameras are.
Of course. Yeah.
But everything everything is on tap.
Right. Yeah. But for some reason they can't read everything in his mind. And as we find out later, is that actually he is not just a brutal, but he's a genetic experiment or a genetic evolutionarily advanced being, which is actually past the. So he's really, really very, very smart and very advanced.
Kind of, yeah. Or it's just cyclical, right? I think it's supposed to represent
that he was actually created by Arthur Frayne, because Arthur Frayne.
Or was he created, or was he just educated by him? Because he has this flashback of someone leading him into a library.
Well, there's that too. But my impression was that Arthur Frayne actually created him. Actually created the genetics that created this thing.
It might be.
So the whole
to be honest, after a certain point, It's not so much that it's confusing. I mean, what they're going for isn't that. It's just that it's busy and it's full of gobbledygook and crap. So after a while, it just I kind of get what you're trying to say here. I get the grand scheme of it, but all the little bits and pieces are hippie white noise.
The idea is that he's not just as dumb as the rest of the Brutals, right?
And of course he's virile as well. Right? There's there's a few hilarious scenes. There's the one where they're giving a talk and they're using him as an example, and they're talking about the old reproductive ways of humans, right? And they show him some tits and things on the screen.
Blood wrestling.
Yes, yeah. And he's just not responding, and then he starts. He just starts concentrating on Charlotte Rampling, looking at her, and he gets an erection, and wow.
So, and then, of course, there's the big reveal later, which we find out that actually Arthur Frayne had been educating him.
Yes.
Because it was sort of an attempt to bring him in order to destroy their society, so people could die.
Yes.
That's the idea, is that they all want
break
to die.
The cycle,
So they'd be able to die. And so in order to do that, he actually showed him the book, The Wizard of Oz.
The Wonderful Wizard of Oz,
right,
yes.
Which was the idea of the man behind the curtain controlling the head. And so that was where Wizard of Oz, Zardoz, came from.
Yes.
So,
and if you will allow me a digression here, because like your thing about, you were saying, coincidentally, I was listening to a podcast about something else, and I discovered for the first time, I wasn't aware of this, the and again, this is contested by some people, but the apparent political message behind Wonderful World, were you aware of this at all?
What?
Well, when it was first written, and I don't know the exact ins and outs of this, but it was post-Civil War Reconstruction in the United States, right? And there was a big to-do at a certain point. Again, I don't remember the exact details or ins and outs, but basically there was a huge debate over whether they should follow the gold standard or silver, and there was all these kind of political lines were drawn. People wanted to stay in the gold standard. So apparently, when it was new, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz would have, a lot of the characters would have, for instance, one of the characters, I can't remember which one, would have put people in mind of Theodore Roosevelt, or someone else with William Jennings Bryan, or someone like that. And the yellow brick road is supposed to represent the gold standard, and Oz is, ounces of gold. And in the original book, of course, Dorothy has silver slippers. They were changed for ruby slippers of the film because it looked more cinematic. So apparently it's all this allegory about how the yellow brick road leads us to the man, and it's all no, gold standard bad. We should stick to silver and stuff like that. So apparently there's a lot of yeah, no, I didn't know that until very recently. It's kind of interesting little aside. If you want to know more about it, then check it out. It's kind of interesting. Like I said, it's contested by some people. Just think that's nonsense, but it's kind of interesting thing to think about. Yeah,
but definitely the theme of Wizard
I don't think that plays a part here. Don't get me wrong. That was just a digression. Yeah.
But the reason that, of course, they use that is because it's sort of the idea of a smaller person giving the impression of being much more powerful than
yes.
So, which is, of course, is what Frank has been doing, and that, of course, wakes our protagonist Sean Connery up, wakes him up to realize that, or Zed, we shall say his name is Zed.
Zed, yes.
And wakes Zed up, and so Zed becomes aware of the manipulation of the Eternal.
Right.
And so then he basically goes to their place to basically create the chaos.
Yeah.
And at one point,
there's another group as well.
Yes.
The apathetics.
The apathetics. Yes, I was just about to call
which basically just stand around, not doing anything.
That are so bored with their life as a journal that they basically are catatonic.
Yes, in fact, they're so bored that licking Sean Connery's sweat gets them all excited. Which is where it...
Well, I got the impression that...
as if they didn't have enough kind of allegories going on, they decided to throw the Christ one in at this point, right?
So.
Inevitably. It's very...
It's a bit heavy-handed.
And someone mentions Nietzsche. It's very existentialism 101, this film, isn't it? It's like everything's thrown in.
But the problem is because there's so much stuff thrown in that you don't really know... It doesn't always make sense, and the through line is kind of lost.
Well, I think it... and I ran out of notes as well into the final kind of bit, because it gets into real, we don't know how to end it, painted themselves into a corner territory.
Right.
So there's like, up to a certain point, you can still, it's very kind of glaringly obvious and pushed in your face, and then it kind of gets into a bit of a like a gumbo, right? It's like, what exactly are you trying to do now?
I know exactly what you're talking about, because
I
think for the first 2/3 of the movie, I was really enjoying it. I was kind of like, this is kind of fun. It's a kind of
it's wrong-headed, but it's not boring.
It wasn't boring. It was interesting. It was keeping my attention. It was all right. And then it got to this point where he starts to go into the tabernacle, and then it's this real like psychedelic like house of mirrors. And I was like, okay, you've totally lost me.
Again, existential. When in doubt, get a hall of mirrors.
Hall of mirrors going on, right? So it's this whole really, really long extended scene where he's walking around this house of mirrors inside this tabernacle, trying to fight himself, but not.
Right. And everything's spelled, just in case you don't get certain points, they spell it out as well, don't they? Like when Arthur Frayn's going, I'm the one who educated you, and then he's saying, well, I've gone straight to the source who educated you to educate me. Right. Just in case you didn't quite get that. In the back there, we just shout. You understand? Yeah, so it's and then
So then the idea is that finally he defeats or breaks the tabernacle or whatever, which ends up being just a crystal. For some reason, it was just a crystal in his hand. And he kind of defeats them and then breaks the cycle, and, and they're able to die.
Yes.
And then you find the whole time there's like a indivisible shield around this area.
Right.
And that he's gone up to the shield a couple times and is gesturing to other exterminators just outside the wall. So it's obviously the whole thing has been set up.
So they overrun.
So finally, the wheel down. They come in and then they basically just
and they will for their own death. Because it's
they're all happy. It's like, please kill me.
It's fin de siècle bourgeois society gone.
Exactly.
It's funny watching it. There's so many things that come to mind. Like
before you sum that up, then we got to finish them.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right.
The very very important last image.
Connery and Rampling.
So Connery ends up with Rampling, even though she wanted to kill him the whole thing. She ends up with him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a love-hate relationship. They end up in a cave. And then it's a very odd sequence where they basically are just sitting. They're not speaking or moving or talking. And it's just like a series of images with them getting a little bit older and a little bit older. And then they have a baby. And the baby gets older.
Yeah.
The baby grows up. The baby leaves.
Yeah.
And then they get older and older. And then they're skeletons.
Right.
And then that's the end.
And then there's a close-up on a cave painting.
Cave painting, which is say maybe this is the past and this is the future.
Again, it's gilding the lily, isn't it? At this point, it's like just in case you don't understand that we're talking about the whole,
It's all cyclical, always around.
But it's funny. There's so many things that came to mind that if you wanted, I don't know if it's because whenever you get into this territory, so I started thinking of the recent. The migrant crisis and Trump's wall, Mexico, and I was thinking Israel, Palestine, and there's even like a generation gap thing, and then they threw Christ in there as well. So there's all these things, it brings up all these things, which all these type of movies.
It's very timely then.
Well, in a way, because it's timeless, right? In a way, these things are always an issue. Those are just those issues manifest in recent memory or in ways that I think about. Right? Maybe someone else would watch it and think of different things, right? So, like we said, we mentioned Logan's Run, but then there's also that Year of the Sex Olympics, that Nigel Neal teleplay. It reminded me a bit of that, and again, but these are all very much in the air. This kind of post-hippie kind of SF kind of stuff. I don't know what the right word for it again.
This is kind of like pseudo-intellectual.
Yes.
Kind of,
yes. And to be fair, I'm not ragging on it for that. I mean, whenever you go into this kind of territory, you should be applauded to a certain extent because, there's it's very easy to kind of shy away from it from scared of getting pretentious. So I'm always kind of impressed when someone just wades in to the pool of pretentiousness, full. Fair play. You tried your best.
Yeah. So I think it was a bit of Emperor's New Clothes for me. That it was like I asked you. I said I might need your help with this one because I was thinking that because maybe I was the guy that couldn't see the clothes, and I was like, I'm not sure I really understood this. Maybe it just went over my head.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people, but maybe not.
No, he's naked.
Yes, he's naked.
Yeah. Yes, but that said, I can't say this was a displeasure to watch. It looks great. Apart from that stupid bit at the beginning, that's the only bit that looks kind of a bit naff.
Right.
The rest of it looks great.
Yeah.
Sounds great. The Beethoven Symphony No. 7, which you hear throughout, that's all very well done. And I like Sean Connery in it. I can always watch Charlotte Rampling in anything. John Alderton's very good as well. This was your first viewing, right? So what did you come away with it? Where do you stand on? Is this? I mean, because you have to remember, some people just think it's like one of the worst films ever made, and then other people think it's a masterpiece, right?
It really is like a
and I'm neither
movie.
One nor the other myself. I'm guessing you're probably somewhere in the middle as well.
Yeah,
right?
I certainly would be one or the other either. I mean,
right.
I think it probably depends a lot on how you first see this movie. The fact that it was on my friend's top 10 list of the movies that changed him a lot, I assume he must have seen it at a time in his life where it really affected him in a certain way that stick with him. Yeah. Right? So
I'd say, 15, 16, smoking your first reefer.
Yeah, sounds
perfect.
Like perfect movie.
Yeah.
Right? I think the one that kind of opens your mind to, if you don't know anything about existentialism, maybe it's a great movie to as that existentialism 101, right? So it kind of opens your mind to that whole thing.
Although, having said that, when I first saw it, I think I must have been 13 or 14, I think. But I think even then I was thinking, all right, this is kind of tosh, right? I mean, you're exposed to certain ideas at that point, right? So,
but I think it was in the long run, it was definitely very, very pretentious.
Yes. Yes. But it's not but it's not. I mean, pretentious is one of those things that can get me to flare up very quickly. I'm very tolerant of a lot of things, but if some things. But to be fair, this never got me angry. There's nothing about this actively annoyed me. How about you?
No, it didn't. As I said, I enjoyed. The first 2/3 of it, actually, I was really.
And the older, I think, the older it gets, it does gather some more kind of charm around it. I bet as well. It's a bit. It's difficult because I wouldn't recommend this film. That would be too strong.
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
But if someone, for instance, I would recommend. For instance, like in your case. The fact that you've never seen it, but you're interested in offbeat movies, I certainly would recommend it to someone who likes offbeat movies, just because it's rare to see a film made with such good production values and stuff like that, which is so kind of pure in a way, I suppose, to its detriment at the end. But you certainly couldn't say that this film is in any ways. It hasn't been. What's the word I'm looking for? There's no. I don't get the feeling there's any kind of selling out or compromise. I think this is probably. I mean, as much as any film is what you set out to make it, there's always compromises, right? But I don't. This doesn't feel like a film that suffers from a studio intervention or anything like that.
I think if anything, it suffers from
the opposite.
Giving him too much free reign.
Exactly. Which is why I think these kind of films as well, when they're new, especially. I mean, I don't know what the budget of this. I wouldn't imagine it was a huge amount, but it was probably just sufficient. When these things are new as well, I think they tend to incense.
I actually have the budget right here.
All right,
1.5 million.
So not that big even in those days.
Yeah.
So. But when these things do come out when they're new, I think they're more likely to incense people, right? Because because this would have been a fairly big release, I'm guessing. I mean, probably would have been. Probably people were aware of it when it came out. There were probably posters all over the place. Good posters.
Big stars in it.
Yeah. Right? So. Whenever the kind of establishment, let's say, or who's seen to be the establishment, puts out something like this, and it seems like a massive waste of money, I think the automatic reaction is to just kind of get angry at it, right? Whereas I think over the years you kind of you can look at it with a bit more distance and kind of
forgive it.
Yeah. So it's like a goofy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having difficulty summing it up. Can you try any better than me, Ron?
I don't think you can. That's the essence of this movie. Is you can't grasp it. Like it's sort of like it's so like
but not in a good, not in a good
ephemeral
kind of.
It's like
I have to watch it again to get my head around it.
No, it's just sort of like a.
It's just about nothing.
It defies
really.
definition. It defies kind of categorization.
Yes.
Too, right. So you can't really get your finger on any one thing. There's so much there.
The head goes so far up the arse that it just becomes a sphere. There's like no handhold or anything. Or
Right.
Having said that, I'm pretty glad. I think I'm quite glad that John Boorman made it.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists.
Yeah.
It's certainly an interesting one in terms of the Sean Connery filmography.
Right,
I think
I was quite surprised to know that Sean Connery was in it. It didn't seem like his type of thing, but So he was pretty good in it.
I wonder what he makes of it now.
Yeah, I actually had the same thought. I was like, I would love to interview Sean Connery or Charlotte Rampling and ask them about what their ideas about this movie are.
Right.
40 years later.
Yeah, because
especially 25 years later.
Charlotte Rampling is so straight-faced. I mean, she seems to be taking it very seriously, right?
So.
Not just as a
Sean
character.
Connery has a little bit of a wink at the camera.
That's what I mean.
Times,
because his character is slightly more kind of like buffoonish at times.
Yeah.
So you can see it's easier. What he has to do is easier in a way, but what she has to do is more difficult because she has to play it like straight down the middle, right? So, but she does it very well, I have to admit. It doesn't come off as sometimes when people are forced to do something, with material they don't really believe in, then it comes across as somewhat disingenuous. But she really seems to.
Well, maybe she did believe in it. We don't
know. I guess they probably all do. I don't think these films get really made unless everyone's behind it, right?
Well, I mean, I was reading some bits of trivia about it and stuff, and he said that apparently Sean Connery and John Boorman got on quite well, and he was way well behind the movie. He didn't complain about almost anything. I think the only thing that he complained about, they thought they were complaining about the costume, but apparently he didn't. The only thing he complained about was one time where he had to
wear a dress, right?
There was that bit. He had to wear the bride's dress, but apparently they had to push that for a while. But the other thing that he really complained about was one time where he had to pull a cart of people up a hill.
Oh, okay.
And apparently he just complained about that. But I don't know. But it was, it was interesting. But I mean, again, some people put it on one of the best movies of all time, but it's also on a list of like the 100, most enjoyably bad movies of all time.
I think even though I'm kind of more or less in favor of Zardoz, despite it being a total fucking mess. I don't think I'd like to be locked in a room with a Zardoz fan. Like, it's one thing to see it, like maybe when you were a kid and like your friend and change that or whatever. But like a grown man or woman who watches this now and is convinced that it's a really meaningful. I'm not sure if I could handle such a person. Although I'm slightly curious to see why they think it's. But again, like you, I think I'd be giving them too much credit. Because that's the way I'm built. I'd assume, there's more to this than meets my eye, at least. But I really don't think there is.
There's a review here from Ian Christie in the Daily Express.
Ah, yes, I know what you're going to say, yeah.
He specifically quoted, which seems very apropos, which is that if this is intellectual thinking, then Donald Duck deserves the Nobel Prize.
There we go.
Right?
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
That sums it up. Also, interestingly, I didn't know Burt Reynolds actually was supposed to be Zed originally, but fell out due to illness.
The late Burt Reynolds.
Yes. Actually Sean Connery was the replacement. And also, it was also offered to Richard Harris, who apparently just didn't respond. So.
I can't imagine Burt Reynolds in this.
So anyway, that's Zardoz. Anything else to say about Zardoz?
Well, no, because I think it's just more verbiage, right? And I think there's enough of that in Zardoz as it is. So we should probably just stop.
Yeah. So